Dear law students, I'm going to talk to you for a minute about the jobs that you can get after law school that are going to give you the most courtroom experience very, very quickly. So if you want to be a litigator, these are going to be great jobs for you right out of law school. My name is Marco Brown. I own Brown Family Law in Salt Lake City. And I was where you are now. I was in law school. I wanted to be a litigator. I had to figure out how to make that happen. So I started thinking about these jobs. And then I did some of them after I became a lawyer. And I'm in family law, so I litigate a lot. And these were really, really super, super helpful. So the first one is to be a prosecutor or a public defender. Day one, you're going to get out and you're going to be in court. You're going to be in court a ton, okay? So, and you're going to be prosecuting cases, you're actually going to be in trial, or you're going to be defending cases and you're going to be in trial, or you're going to be arguing motions, negotiating while you're in the courtroom. And there's something magical about being in the courtroom. You can learn as you sit there and wait for your case and watch really good litigators, how they act in the courtroom, and then try to emulate that. There's just something about being in that environment all the time that makes you better about being in that environment. It makes you a better litigator, okay? It just readies you to try cases and to be very, very good at cases. It's the time that you spend in the courtroom. And being a public defender or a prosecutor can give you tons and tons and tons of those times. Now, if you want to do that for your career, that's great. I wouldn't really suggest that because you're not going to make a ton of money, but maybe that's your calling and that's fantastic. Or maybe you just do it for a year or two and then you go out and you do something else, but you've received all of that knowledge very, very quickly in a year or two, and it's really going to help you out. Okay, the second is to clerk for judges. This is what I did after law school. I think about a clerkship, especially in a trial court, if you want to be a litigator, as graduate school for lawyers. So I was able to sit there, I watched first-degree murder trials, I watched juvenile trials, I watched all manner of civil trials and hearings, arguments all over the place. I loved it. And the thing I really enjoyed about trial, a trial court as opposed to an appellate court, is I ran into a whole bunch more issues in the trial court than my colleagues did on the appellate court. Appellate court, you get some really interesting issues sometimes, but the issues that you see are actually much more, you just don't see as many of them. Sorry, I'm not getting the words right here. You're seeing a much more limited universe of issues. But in a trial court, you're seeing everything all the time. So I really liked that variety. I thought it really helped me out. And you get to write decisions for judges, okay, which is super, super cool. So I remember I was in a trial, and at the end of the trial, the judge said, you sat there and you watched the entire thing. So these are my thoughts. I want you to write up something consistent with that and put the evidence in there because you know the evidence just about as well as I do. So I got to do that. I thought it was utterly fantastic. I loved everything about it. So I would suggest clerking for a year. Okay, don't do it for very long because you don't make any money, but a year is great. And you learn the blue book like nothing else. You learn to write really well too, and you learn the blue book. So another thing you can do is volunteer in court. So say you get a job and you don't get into court a ton, but you want to be a good litigator, volunteer in court as much as you can. Volunteer on, protective orders. Anything you can find where you're actually in court, in front of a judge, in front of a commissioner, doing your thing, volunteer and do that. It's just going to make you better at litigation. Okay. And then the last one is legal aid. Legal aid is kind of sort of like being a public defender or a prosecutor. You're going to get into trial a ton, you're going to be in court a ton, and you're going to be in court with people that can't pay, and it's a very interesting population, let's put it that way. So you're going to have very difficult cases, you're going to have difficult clients, and you're going to be in court. So you're going to need to be on your game all the time, figuring things out on the fly. And in the beginning, that's exactly what you want to do. Now, do you want to stick with legal aid for 10 years? Again, probably not, right? Stay in for a year, 2 years, 3 years. become very good at this, but then get out and go make some money, deal with a little bit different population that's a little easier to deal with. But you're going to get so much experience in legal aid at a year, 2 or 3 years that is really, really super invaluable. Okay, so let's recap this. Public defender or prosecutor, clerk for trial judges, volunteer in court as much as you can, go to legal aid. All of these options are going to get you tons and tons of courtroom experience and litigation experience. And if you want to be a good litigator, this might well be the way to go for you. Okay, thank you for your time. And until next time, I appreciate it.